So in this course, I'll be the course instructor. My name is K. Ramkumar. Okay, I'm from EA department. Okay. So the first class, in fact, we are going to see the motivation to learn this particular subject, signals and systems. So you are all belonging to EIE department. So naturally, electronics and instrumentation is a domain closely connected to a field called automation. Okay. Automation, control theory, as well as artificial intelligence. Okay. When you are automating, okay, what is automation? Can somebody from your end can answer this? Just give a try. What is automation? Any idea? Anybody from this group? Around 56 guys are there. What is automation?
Designing and creating.
Okay, designing and creating. Fine. Any other answer? I'm looking for some other answer also. Anybody
Access
else?
by using phone, like that.
Okay, access by using phone. Okay, so you are trying to use phone to answer some calls.
Control. Control different things in different way, like by accessing a phone using Wi-Fi.
Removing manual works.
Removing manual works. Who is that? Who is that? Who said this answer? Removing manual works.
Me, sir, Kalaiselvan.
Okay, Kalaiselvan. That's a good answer. Okay, removing manual works. Automation is basically, see, we are in COVID times. Okay, COVID 2019 is creating a huge kind of an impact over all sectors of life. Particularly industrial domain, people are been seriously thinking of avoiding human intervention as far as possible. Okay, so naturally there is a huge demand for this kind of technology called automation technologies. Okay, so when you talk about automation technologies, okay, you are trying to remove or you are trying to create machines, okay, machines which can think like a human beings. Think like human beings. Think like human beings means what? The machines can take, okay, some kind of intelligent decisions. The key point is when the machines are going to take intelligent decisions, it is without what, as he has beautifully said, Kalaiselvan, without human intervention. That's a key point. So when you are going to take some decision, okay, you apply your intelligence, you have a brain. As a human being, we use our brain to take intelligent decisions. And the key, one of the important point here is with minimal or uncertain data. Uncertain data means what? The data is not very well defined. For example, as a human being, in our hindsight, you might have seen somebody, okay? You might not have seen the person completely. You might not have seen the person completely. You might have seen his hair, or you might have seen his, what do you call, his voice. Okay, what do you do? Just a minute. Okay, so just I put the phone on mute mode. Yeah, you might have seen somebody and you might not have seen the person completely. Okay, you might have seen his hair or you might have seen his voice. Even with very limited amount of data, that's a key point. Very limited amount of information. You will be in a position to identify the person perfectly. Okay, this is like more like taking intelligent decisions. Okay, taking intelligent decisions with very minimal data. It's a very important point. Very minimal data. So conventionally, computers are being trained to work with data. Okay, nowadays the machines are being trained to work with uncertain data. So that's the power of machines nowadays. Uncertain data. The data is not very precise. It's not perfect. But still the machines can take some intelligent decisions. So with this, autonomy comes. Okay, so more and more the machines are being trained to work with uncertain data. The machines will become more and more starts enjoying autonomy without human intervention, as Kalaiselvan has mentioned. Okay, without human intervention, the machines can work. So basically, what in fact you will be learning under the subject signals and systems. Okay, so under this subject, yeah, I created a page. What is the new, what do you call, what you are in fact going to learn under this subject, signals and systems? From your end, I am looking for some answers. Okay. So what is your general idea about this subject? What is there in your mind? Okay. What you think that you will be learning under this subject? Any idea? Anybody? Kalaiselvan?
Transferring data, sir, in form of something.
Okay. Anybody else? Satyanarayan?
Converting signals into one form to another form, like from analog to digital.
Excellent, excellent. Conversion of signals. Okay.
Conversion
Anybody
of
else?
signals.
So you are going to learn about conversion of signals under this subject. That's what your expectation is. Okay. Anybody else? Anybody
Various
else?
forms of signals and sensing it.
Okay, okay. Various forms of signals and sensing
And
it.
sensing the signal.
Okay, so in fact, one of the learning objectives of this particular course is learning about the classification, okay, classification of signals. How we are going to classify the signals. That's going to be one of the key objectives of this learning this subject. When you are going to talk about classification of signal in today's class, I would like to introduce you to two main categories. One is called as the continuous time signals. Continuous time signals. And the other one you call it as the discrete time signals. So at the end of today's class, you should be in a position to clearly differentiate between what exactly is meant by a continuous time signal, what exactly is meant by a discrete time signal. That will be one, definitely one learning objective. That's good. Okay. Any other thing that you are expecting that you'll be learning under this subject? Anybody else? What about systems? Any idea about systems? Anybody else? I'm looking for some. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Hello, sir. System,
Detecting the signals.
Yeah, please.
sir. Systems nothing but a meaningful interconnection of physical devices and components.
Excellent. Okay, that's a definition. In fact, you
Yeah.
have given very clearly. There is an intended purpose, and you would like to design systems with the interconnection of so many other components,
Yeah.
which can meet out your requirements. That's good. Very good. What is your name?
Dhanush.
Okay, very good. Anybody else?
Transferring of signals from one
Transferring. Wow, that's good. Who is that?
Netra, sir.
Netra, in fact, your answer is kind of a definition. It is okay. You are talking about systems, okay, systems which can, as systems, it's going to receive some input signals and it's going to transfer it or transform it. Okay, it's going to transform some kind of signals, and you are talking about such a kind of systems. Excellent. Anybody else? So we'll be talking about the classification, the role of systems. Okay, that will be another one learning goal. Okay, what is the role of systems? What kind of an operations they are going to perform? Okay, I think, yeah, every one of you please unmute. Whenever I ask questions, you please mute. Okay, unmute now. Operations, okay, various operations that are carried out over signals. That's good. Excellent. Now, if you look at this particular signal, okay, I'm now calling this as a signal, this one. So what is this signal? There is an x-axis to it. This is x-axis, and it is given as time. Okay, and look at this signal. This is a signal recorded. Okay, a voice signal. It is a voice signal recorded using a microphone. Okay, and this signal comes out of an adult male. Okay, his voice is saying the word what? Signal. He is uttering the term signal. When in the microphone, when he is going to utter this, okay, this is a microphone, and when he is going to utter this signal over the microphone, what happens? Because of there will be a diaphragm in the microphone, and there will be vibrations. And these vibrations can be converted into electrical signals. Electrical signals. And if you look at that signal, okay, over a different period of time, between some time limit, between this zone, the signal is looking like this. Okay, and under this domain, it is looking like this, an enlarged version. And under this domain, it is looking like this. So definitely a signal is carrying some information. It's a very important idea. What kind of an information it is carrying in this case? An adult male is saying the word signal. So that word is called a speech. It's called a speech signal. Okay, the speech signal, if it is converted into an electrical form like this, okay, will look like this. So all signals, they carry some kind of information, okay, and it varies continuously with respect to time in this case. It's a very important idea. Okay, so the signal exists. So in this case, if you look at the signal, this is the signal, this is a time axis, and this is a corresponding speech signal I'm talking about, and it's a function of this time. So naturally, this x-axis, you call it as independent variable. It's called independent variable. And this speech signal, okay, the person has uttered the word signal, and it looks something like this, like this. So what is exactly continuous time signal then? The signal value, if any physical phenomena is converted, okay, into a form of a signal like this, and it exists for all values of time. Okay, look at this, all values. There is, for every value of time, there is a corresponding amplitude. Okay, for every value of time t, there is a corresponding amplitude for the speech signal s of t, without what you call for all the values of time. It's a real line. Okay, it's a real line. Real line. In the real line, it exists for all the values. Okay, it's all the values it exists. So it is called continuous time signal. Okay, so if the signal is continuous time signal, some examples we'll see. Look at this signal. So, so look at this signal. So if this signal is slightly different from this one. Okay, if I'm going to take a continuous time signal, okay, something like this. I have a continuous time signal, something like this. Okay, this is existing for all time. If I pass it through a sampler in the sense a switch, which is going to open on and off at a particular time, what I will be getting as output is the sampled version of this signal. Okay, these samples I'll be getting. I'm opening and closing this switch at a particular over a particular time limit. So what happens? I'll be getting some samples like this. Okay, the signal value existing only for a particular time instant. Okay, this is n, we call it as, this is x of n equal to. Can you see the difference between this signal and this signal, every one of you? What is the difference? Can somebody tell me? What is the difference between x of t and x of n? What's the difference? Can somebody tell me that?
At particular time, particular instant,
At a particular instant, what happens?
the
The signal exists. Okay. The signal exists only for a particular time instant. Okay. So you can imagine this kind of signals. There are a lot of signals like this. Okay. If you look at signals like, for example, I'm measuring, okay, the temperature in this room. Okay. I am measuring the temperature over a period of time. From morning till night, I'm measuring. So initially, the morning, the temperature is something like this. And in the afternoon, it shoots up. And again, by afternoon, it's going to come down gradually. By evening, it's going to go down like this. So this is a recording of the temperature with respect to time. Okay. So for example, in a boiler, I'm measuring the pressure in the boiler with respect to time. The pressure variations are like this. So the closed boiler, I have measured the pressure, it's like this. The temperature in a room, something like this. Okay. Now what happens if somebody is going to come and ask you, by looking at this particular signal, can you tell me at what exact time the temperature reaches a maximum value? Immediately you can tell that. Okay, by looking at this figure, at this particular time instant, the temperature has peaked. So how much amount of time it takes for the particular day, okay, the temperature to reach 90% of the final value. If somebody is going to ask that question, you can tell that by looking at, for example, 4 hours. It took 4 hours for the temperature in the room to reach 90% of the final value. Okay, you can tell that. And when the temperature is maintained at a constant value, for example, at this limit, it is somewhat constant. It's not too much variations are not there. Okay, it's somewhat maintained constant. You can tell that at what time it has happened. At what time it has happened. You can tell. So if I do this kind of analysis, then I am performing something called signal analysis. Okay, what is signal analysis? Signal analysis is nothing but I'm studying the characteristics of the signal, how it varies, how it is varying with respect to time. Okay, it's varying with respect to time. So any physical phenomena varies with respect to an independent variable, you call it a signal. Now the question before you is whether the independent variable should always be a time. Whether the independent variable means what? Variable is independent, that is x-axis, time. X of t is a function of time. This is the temperature, pressure and all, no? It's a function of time. So this is dependent. This variable is dependent. Dependent on what? The independent variable time. Okay, whether always for all signals, time is the independent variable. Can somebody tell me?
No, sir. Position. We can say position as an independent variable.
Okay. Can you give some applications, some examples?
Whether climatic changes in different places, sir.
Excellent, excellent. What is your name?
Sivafani, sir.
Symphony, huh?
Sivafani, funny, sir.
Sivafani. Okay, Sivafani is
Yes,
a good answer, man. But see, this normally is a very intuitively you have to understand. For example, if you take, you are traveling in a hilly region by car. Okay, you are traveling in a hilly region. So when you are traveling, what happens? The altitude changes. Okay, here the altitude is an independent variable. So in meters, for example. Okay, so when you are going to travel, what happens? The pressure varies. Okay, the pressure may increase or decrease. Okay, over a period of time, okay, when you are going up, there will be pressure variations that you can very easily feel. Likewise, the temperature and pressure, they are connected. Okay, temperature and pressure, they are related. So easily you can visualize that the independent variable need not be time always. Okay, need not be time always. So if you look at this particular example, okay, if you look at this particular example, I've been talking about something called continuous time signal and discrete time signal. If you look at this example, whether this is a continuous time waveform or a discrete time signal. Can somebody tell me? This waveform?
So discrete.
Discrete, sir.
Why you are saying it is discrete?
For some value of independent
Sir,
variable, it is not having value, sir.
Okay, only for particular instance of time the signal exists. That's a key definition. Only for particular instance of the independent variable okay, the signal exists. Can somebody help me out how we are getting this signal from continuous waveform? From continuous waveform, how you are getting this discrete waveform? Can somebody tell me how? Anybody?
By sampling, sir.
Exactly, we are sampling it. So that's a key idea. You should remember that. You should not forget it. Basically, we have a continuous waveform like this, and with the help of a switch element, by opening and closing the switch at a particular time rate, okay, you are getting these samples. Okay, for example, if I'm going to look at a waveform, okay, something like this, and I'm opening and closing the switch for every 2 seconds, what I'll be getting? For every 2 seconds, 4 seconds, 6 seconds, 8 seconds, I'll be getting some discretized waveforms. Okay. Okay. So this kind of waveforms, whatever I'm going to get, it's originally sampled, original continuous waveform, it's getting sampled. It's a key idea. Sampled versions. You should not forget it. So the question then that comes to your mind is right now is, at what rate I'll be sampling this? At what rate I'll be sampling? What is the sampling rate? Whether 2 seconds is sufficient or 2 milliseconds is sufficient or 4 seconds or 6 seconds. What is the sampling rate? And what is the optimal sampling rate? So these are all some questions we will be addressing in this particular course. What is the optimal sampling rate? Okay, so we'll be addressing this in the 3rd unit of this course under a domain called Nyquist sampling rate. Okay, this is a very important idea. So first of all, why do we need to convert a continuous time signal into a discrete time? This is a key question. Can somebody answer? Any idea? Any fair guess? Anybody?
easy to analyze.
What?
Easy to analyze.
Easy to analyze. Excellent. Anybody else?
Sir, in certain time only we need those actions so we can convert continuous to discrete.
Okay,
sir.
only
In some
certain
application,
particular certain particular instance of time only you are interested in looking at the signal. Excellent. For example, financial data. Okay, so this is an excellent answer. For financial data, for example, you are recording the value of the stock, okay, in the financial market, the economical domain. Looking at the value of the stock, okay, you may not be interested in knowing the value of the stock all periods of time. Okay, you may be interested in knowing it every week. Week 1, this may be the week 1 data, week 2 data, week 3 data. You'll be knowing of the value in terms of rupees. Okay, value of the stock. So in that case, you'll be interested in, though you may have all the data, Okay, every moment, every time instant data you may be having. You may not be interested in knowing the value of all the data. You may be interested in knowing only the samples of it. Okay, that's a good answer. Anybody else? Anybody else? Why do we need to convert continuous time to discrete time? Any other answer? Any other answer?
To find an average rate.
Okay, you find the average of the signal. Okay, average power of the signal, energy of the signal, and all we'll be discussing later on. But that is not why we are going for discrete signals. Okay, we for continuous time signal also we can find out the average. Okay, any other answer? Anybody else? Yeah, most of the time, okay, the one important idea, you should not forget this idea. Okay, most of the time what happens is we will be, for example, in this case, with the help of a microphone, in fact, we recorded the data and you got some kind of signals like this with respect to time, electrical signal. We recorded it, some speech waveform looking like this, speech signal. Normally, we will be interested in manipulating this signal. Because why do I need to manipulate the signal? Is there some reasons? Any fair guess? The speech signal, why do we need to manipulate? If it is music signal, for example.
To reduce amplitude.
You may be interested in varying the amplitude. Okay, varying the amplitude. In fact, if you look at A.R. Rahman's studio, okay, full of signal processing equipment. You will be employing all kinds of signal processing. You'll be working with this kind of signals, music signals, okay, using computers. Now, can you guess why we are going for discretized version? Anybody?
To know the particular value of time at which the amplitude will be higher, to reduce it.
That is not the reason. The reason is continuous time signals, okay, it is not compatible. It's a key idea. Note down this. It's a compatible. It is not compatible to work with what? Work with computers. Okay, so you require computers normally. Computer means what? Microprocessor, microcontrollers, and all those devices. No? So digital systems. Okay, these digital systems, they require digital signals. Digital signals. For getting digital signals, you need the discretized version of the waveform. Discretized version. Continuous signals is not compatible with computers. So what is the key takeaway point here? It is very, very important primarily because in the modern day world, we are using, okay, all kinds of digital components, including iPod. Okay, you take any music systems, most of the systems are digital systems. Okay, digital systems. So when you are going to employ a microcomputer or a computer, you cannot work with continuous signals directly. Continuous time signal direct. Continuous time signal direct. So naturally, it is essential for us to convert the signals to a discrete time domain. Okay, so that's why it is very important. Okay, so discrete time domain is important. Now that's the reason why we are going for this kind of discretized versions. So that's why this signal, if you look at this, clearly you can see from where you have generated this signal. So if you look at the envelope, can you see the envelope clear? It's more like a sine waveform. So from the sine waveform, you have sampled that and you have ended up in a waveform like this. And if you look at this waveform, it's more like this. Can you see it clearly? Okay, this one is more like a sine. So I have sampled the sine waveform. Okay, and here is something like this. I don't know the kind of waveform, what kind of waveform it is. Okay, something like this. So clearly you can see continuous time waveforms can be converted to discrete time waveform. Okay, so that is primarily because we are going to work something on signal processing. As I said earlier, manipulating the signals. Manipulating the signals. And for that, you need to acquire the signals. Acquire the signals in the analog form or the continuous form. Analog and continuous, analogous. Okay, analog continuous. The analog signal you acquire from the real world environment, for example, from microphone, and then what do? You try to convert it into discrete form, and then you will be converting into digital form. So this process you call it as A to D converters, analog to digital converters. In all computers, you'll be using this analog to digital converters. Once you convert into analog to digital, then what do? You will take it inside the computer, the signal, discretized version of the signal. You'll be storing that signal in the computer. Then you will write some algorithms, all kinds of filtering algorithms, all kinds of signal processing algorithms. All this you'll be studying in the near future. Okay, signal processing algorithms. And all these algorithms will work over the signal, and the real world, once again, you have to give back the signal. So for that, you'll use something called DAC, digital to analog converter, and you'll be giving it to the real world. Okay, in the speaker, for example, in the speaker, you can listen to the sound. Okay, so this is a kind of a process you should not forget. Okay, from the real world, when you are acquiring the signal, mostly they are in the analog form. Physical phenomena. Any physical phenomena you can imagine, temperature, pressure, level, voice signal, all these physical phenomena, you acquire it from the real world, and then you discretize it using samplers and then A to D converters, and then computers. Again, you process that in the computer by storing it with the help of some processing algorithms. You process it. So this process you call it as digital signal processing. You'll be learning this subject by next semester, I think. So at that point of time, a thorough knowledge on signals and systems will definitely help you. It's a prerequisite course for DSP. A prerequisite course is what? Signals and systems. Okay, a prerequisite means you need to learn this. Then only you can understand digital signal processing. So I'm posing you the question: if you are not going to learn signals and systems properly, whether you will understand DSP? Definitely not. Okay, so you will struggle with the subject. Most of the time, the students will find it extremely difficult to learn this subject. And there is another name for DSP. It's called degree stopping paper. Remember this. Degree stopping. Once you get arrears in DSP, you will be accumulating that arrear forever. Okay, that you will not be clearing it at all. That kind of a problem you may encounter. So it is essential for you to learn signals and systems in a thorough professional way. Here I would like to introduce you the various subjects that are connected to this particular subject, signals and systems. Signals and systems is connected to a subject, directly connected to a subject called digital signal processing. This you will be learning by next semester. Followed by a very important core subject for instrumentation engineer. That subject is called control systems. Okay, control systems. Then another subject called process control systems. Remember, these are all theory subjects. There is a what you call complementing lab is also there for DSP lab. Okay, DSP lab. And for control systems, there is a lab on control systems. and there is a process control lab. And you have subjects like digital image processing. Image as a signal you'll be working. Okay, so then you have subjects like electric circuits. This semester you'll be learning, and there is a lot of connection between signals and systems and electric circuits. Okay, network theory and all those concepts you'll be learning. And as well as, okay, if you are going to learn communication systems. Communication systems is also another domain. If you are interested, you can learn that also. Okay, then you have electric robotic systems. In fact, you'll be learning this in 7th semester, a direct one-to-one connection with signal systems. And you have subjects like electric vehicle systems. Electric vehicle. So you can see very clearly that learning this one subject in a thorough professional way. Professional way in the sense what? Mastery. Mastery means what? You should have complete confidence. Okay. If you can learn this subject this semester by putting 5 hours of work per week. 5 hours of work per week, apart from your regular class work. Okay. If you can find this time, 5 hours, I'm telling you, after 15 weeks, your confidence level will get boosted, number one. Number two, not only this semester, you will be very confident. The forthcoming semesters, when you are going to learn all these subjects, okay, all these subjects, control system, process control, digital image processing, you have subjects like modern control theory in 7th semester, modern control, instrumentation, system design subjects. Every subject, there is a one-to-one connection with the signals and the systems. It's a very mathematically rigorous course. A little bit of effort from your end is essential, primarily because you need to solve problems. Only by solving problems, you gain mastery. You understand what I'm saying? So it is essential for you to put this 5 hours of weekly effort. Okay, I expect every one of you to put this 5 hours of effort and gain mastery over the subject, and then be very comfortable in learning the other subjects in a thorough professional engineering, a competent engineer manner. Okay, you are a competent engineer, you will evolve us. At the end of final year, you will be doing, at the 7th semester or 8th semester, you will be doing a capstone project. And when you are going to do the capstone project, you can do it with a lot of confidence, and you can get into some core companies quite comfortably, because your basics are very sound, and you'll be enjoying your work. Okay, without understanding concepts, when you are going to learn the other subjects, you will always feel shaky. You will not feel confident at all. You will not be interested in learning the subject also, primarily because your prerequisites are not met. So keep it in mind always that whenever you are going to learn any new subjects, make it sure that you are quite comfortable with the prerequisites. So for many of the future subjects that you're going to learn, the prerequisite subject or the fundamental subject that you need to master is signals and systems. That's why in all, what do you call it, in the world universities, okay, if you look at all world-class universities like Stanford or MIT, all these universities, they give a lot of emphasis on this one particular subject, okay, signals and systems. If you look at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, there is something called, you might have heard of this, okay, many of you might be using it also. There is something called MIT. They are giving some online courses through OpenCourseWare. Okay, MIT Open, if you just type in Google, MIT OpenCourseWare, and they are offering a course on signals and systems. You can also refer to that. Okay, you can, while listening to my lectures, you can very well, you can listen to these lectures also. Okay, signal systems offered by MIT OpenCourseWare. Okay, It's a fantastic course on signals and systems. Okay, you can refer to this also, okay, to gain mastery. Why I'm telling it is, all universities throughout the world, world-class universities, they give lot of emphasis. They put lot of emphasis for the students in the earlier semesters to learn signals in a very thorough way, okay, professional way. Why? Primarily because all other future semesters, whatever subjects they are going to learn, it is all connected, okay, with signals. That's why I'm spending some time on emphasizing on this particular aspect. I hope you can understand the importance of this subject, why I am telling it is, okay. If you look at systems, okay, now the next topic that we are going to learn in today's class is something called systems, okay. If you look at this, but before that, I would like to say one more point. Okay, so we learned about discretizing signals. Now look at this. I have, if you look at this, a discrete time signal can be represented in many different forms. One form you call it as a functional form. Another one you call it as a tabular form. The third one you call it as a sequence. And the fourth one you call it as pictorial form. Now, if you look at the first case, I am looking at a signal something like this. So look at the first case, functional form. What is functional form? X of n is equal to 1 by 2 to the power n. With n varying between, it should be greater than or equal to 0, and for 0, n less than 2. This kind of representation, a mathematical representation of the signal, is what we'll be doing throughout the course. Okay, so you should understand this very clearly. What does this exactly tells? I have a signal, a discrete time signal, and there is an index n. So in the continuous time domain, you will be using the index time t, and this one is x of t. But in this case, in the discrete domain, it's going to be n and x of n. Always remember this. Okay, this is a discrete time signal. This is continuous time signal. Okay, clearly you have to differentiate. Now, if I'm going to plug in value for n less than 0, the signal value does not exist. Okay, all these values are 0. For n is equal to 0, what will be the value I'll be getting? Can somebody help me out? For n is equal to 0, what is the value of my signal?
1.
Exactly. 1 by 2, 1 by 2 to the power 0. That's going to be anything power 0 is going to be 1. So the first signal at 0th instant, I'll be getting the value 1. Can you see clearly what I'm saying? Then what do I get for n equal to 1? What do I be getting? It's going to be 1 by 2 to the power 1. That's going to be 1 by 2. So at the first instant, okay, index 1, I'll be getting a value 1 by 2. The amplitude will be 1 by 2. Next instant 2, it's going to be 1 by 4. Can you see it clearly? 1 by 8. It goes on. So you can represent your discrete waveform, okay, which in this case, the discrete waveform, it's more like an exponentially decaying waveform. Okay, it's a decaying waveform. Okay, so this discrete waveform, you can represent it using the functional form like this. Can you see this functional form clearly? Every one of you? 1 by 2 to the power n. This is functional. Another way, another way you can represent it is by using a tabular form like this. Look at this. N is the index. Okay, it varies from minus infinity, it goes on to plus infinity. N. So minus 2, value is 0. Minus 1, the value is 0. 0, the value is 1. That you already have seen. 0, the value is 1. Okay, this is 1. So 1, 1 by 2. 2, 1 by 4. 3, 1 by 2. Can you see it clearly? This is a tabular form. The third one is a sequence. You can represent the x of n by opening a parenthesis and then use this arrow to indicate n equal to 0. Okay, this is n equal to 0. Then what is this? N equal to 1. What is this? N equal to 2. In this end, it is going to be n equal to -1. Can you see it? This is a number. The real line you can clearly see. The integers, they are all integer values, n equal to 1, 2, 3. And you are seeing it in the number line clearly. So that is the sequence form. And the pictorial form will look like this. So this is an exponential signal you are seeing clearly. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 1, this is 1 by 2, 1 by 4, 1 by 8, it goes. Okay, so this is how normally you represent a discrete waveform. So you can now understand clearly what is continuous time waveform and what is discrete time waveform, how to represent that. Now, as somebody has already told you, you can also represent image as a signal. Okay, image can be represented. For example, a grayscale image can be represented like a matrix form like this. Okay, it's a function of both x and y. I have x-axis, I have y-axis. So in this case, it is in terms of space. So the independent variable is space. For example, x-axis I can take. And I can mark the value of these pixel values. Okay, and I will be getting some continuous waveform for some particular y. Okay, this is the value of the brightness value. Brightness. So this is the value of the brightness value at various instant of time. Normally it will be discretized. Okay, so these are all the values, pixel values at various instants of time. So now the independent variable when it comes to an image is the space, not time. Okay, so for example, how do you understand this? So take an image. It is represented in form of a matrix. Okay, so I have an image. A person is standing. I have taken an image of him. If it is a grayscale image, okay, the value of the pixels will vary between 0 to 255, where 0 indicates complete blackness, complete black. 255 indicate pure white. Anything, the intensity of the light that falls on the camera, anything between 0 to 255 can be varying shades of black to white. Okay, so naturally every point in that particular camera, okay, every what do you call the image data will have different pixel values with respect to the intensity of the light. So naturally the computer or the digital systems will be viewing the image only in terms of numbers. For example, an image can be visualized by the computer, something like this. Some numbers. So the computer will be seeing an image only in terms of numbers like this. Okay. So in that case, these numbers vary with respect to what? The space. Okay, these are all the pixel values at various points. So it is in terms of space. So now look at this image data. Okay, I am looking at from the x-axis point of view. By fixing this y at a particular value, I am looking at the brightness value and it is more like this. So look at the brightness value. Can somebody tell me what is the maximum and minimum value of this grayscale image?
Maximum is 255.
Very good. What is the minimum value? It's 0.
0.
Okay, so it varies between 0 to 255 and I am looking at one particular y instant. Okay, you understand? I am converting a two-dimensional image into one dimension. I can also plot another graph, something like this. This is brightness. What will be this axis? Can somebody help me out? If this is x, what will be this? Is going to be space y. Y. Okay, space y. So if it is space y, what I will be doing, I will be fixing the x, some particular value of x, and I am looking at the corresponding changes along the y. So the brightness value will be having some values like this. You understand clearly what I am saying? This also varies between 0 to 255. 0 to 255 it varies. So this can be space y, this can be space x. and I can draw both together, okay, in the form of this image matrix. So this image is a two-dimensional representation. This is a two-dimensional image. I can also go in for something called three-dimensional color image, wherein RGB will be there. Red, green, blue. Okay, there will be this color variation shades will be used for representing the image data. But a computer will see an image only as numbers. Always remember that you are going to manipulate with this kind of numbers. By storing these numbers in the computer, you will be manipulating and working with this kind of data. Okay, so for image, the independent variable is no more time, it's going to be space. But the key point that you have to understand is for video images, for video signals, time will also enter into picture. Time and space together. Okay, time space. So in that case, it will be a much more complicated image signals, video signals, complicated signals. And processing these signals, you'll be studying under the subject digital image processing in 7th semester. But for that, an understanding about signals and systems is essential. Now let us move on to something called systems. In today's class, my objective is to introduce you in another 5 minutes. I'll introduce you to systems also. So far, can somebody summarize what we have learned so far? What are all the things I introduce you to? We learned something like continuous classification, classification in terms of continuous time signals and discrete time signals. Very well, good.
Discrete time signal.
Then why do we need to discretize? Then what else we learned? A basic idea about independent variables, independent. And we learned something like time, altitude, examples, space. Okay, independent variable can be anything. And we learned the definition for continuous time signal. What is continuous time definition? Continuous time signal definition. Can somebody help me out?
Continuous only with respect to time. Discrete is not time.
Maybe can you put it in a different way? Any signal? What is any
Discrete is interest.
Yeah.
Discrete is with respect to particular instant of time, but
signal value
will be
exists fully defined. Okay, a signal value. What is signal? Any physical phenomena which carries some information. That is signal. Okay. Any physical phenomena. Any physical phenomena means what? Can somebody give me some examples for physical phenomena? Maybe temperature, temperature, pressure, light. Okay, all these physical. Any physical phenomena which varies with respect to some independent variable. For all instances of variable, if it is going to exist, you call it as continuous time. And for only particular instance of the independent variable, if the physical phenomena varying physical phenomena is going to exist, varying, that's very important. The signal has to vary. The varying physical phenomena, if it's going to exist for specific instance of independent variable, you call it as discrete time or discrete signals. Discrete time means the independent variable is time. For images, if I'm going to sample it, then in that case it is discrete space signals. Okay, you understand? You have to define signals only discrete signal, continuous signals. The independent variable can be anything. Okay, it can be time, space, altitude, anything. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, so that's important. So that's what we learned. Apart from that, one more concept is something called systems. The definition for systems, if you look at a system, somebody already told, it's a collection of devices that operate on an input signal to produce an output signal. You understand the definition? What the definition says, the system is something, it's going to receive some input signal and it's going to give some output signal. For example, a mobile robot system. Okay, if I'm going to change the current signal given to the motors of the wheel, what will happen? What will be the output signal? Can somebody help me out? If I vary the armature current DC motor of the mobile robot, what will vary? What signal will vary?
Speed.
Who is going to tell? Excellent. Who is that?
Sir, me.
Speed, yes. Excellent. Yeah, very good. Satyanarayana.
No, sir.
Position, speed. Yeah, who is that?
Gautam.
I'm unable to see. Gautam, okay. So speed, position, velocity is velocity, okay. With direction, speed with direction, you call it as velocity. Okay, so these signals you can measure. For example, in your bike, how you are measuring your speed? With the odometer, okay, with the speedometer, in fact, you are measuring the speed. So the signal is going to vary. If it is a digital signal, it's going to have different values of speed limits, 60 km per hour, 70 km per hour, 80 km per hour. You can see that clearly. Okay, so you can plot that graph. So definitely position of the robot or speed of the robot is going to vary. So naturally, what is the input signal I am giving? I am giving a current signal, something like this. A current signal, I am giving it to my system, and because of that, the system output, in this case, position, velocity, acceleration, something is going to vary. And I can plot my waveform, something like this. Okay. So naturally, the system can be anything. It can be a satellite. It can be a radar. It can be an autonomous car. It can be an automation system, which you'll be learning in control theory. It can be a robot. It can be an electric vehicle. Okay. You can imagine so many systems. Okay, so you can think of all kinds of systems, particularly GPS systems, okay, which I'm interested in, automation systems, robot, electric vehicles, satellite image systems, radar systems, autonomous vehicles. So all these are really coming up nowadays. Okay, these domains are really picking up. Telecommunication systems, cell phones. What's happening in cell phones? Telecommunication systems.
Communication.
Okay, look at cell phone systems. Yeah. The cell phone communications, all these are happening. In fact, there will be a transmitter, there will be a channel, and there will be a receiver. At one end, you will be talking. Okay, transmitting end. Somebody else will be receiving it. Okay, somebody else will be receiving. Telephonic system. So there the transmitter will be there, and there will be a signal, voltage signal here, and that will be transmitted through a channel. This is a channel system. This is transmitter system. So can you see how systems and signals are coupled? Okay, the signal is being operated on by the system. Okay, with a specific indented purpose. So there is a purpose for all systems. There is an intended. Intended means what? Deliberate. Intended purpose. Something you are desiring as an user. You are desiring something. And you would like to manipulate the signals in a specific manner. And these systems can be signal processing computers too. Computer system can also be a system. Okay, because it receives input. A computer receives input and gives output, yes or no? Okay, computer can be a system. And you can write algorithms to work on this. For example, most of the case, image processing and all, you'll be using computer. And the algorithm can be a machine learning algorithm or an artificial intelligence system. And you'll be working with image signals. The computer will receive an image signal, it will process, and it will take some intelligent decisions. And there will be a final actuator, a robot. It will give signals to a robot to take some action in the real world. These are all very connected. Okay, all these are connected, one-to-one related, and a thorough understanding of all these are quite important. I think in today's class I will stop with this. The time is up. Okay, we will see more about the signals and the related aspects in the coming classes. Okay, if you have any specific queries right now, I'm willing to take.
Sir, references.
Yeah, references. Good. So if you look at this first book, Signals and Systems by Openham and Bilski. Okay, this is a very good standard book. If you look at this, I'll go to the Amazon website. Can you see the book clearly? Signals and Systems, Alan B. Openham and Alan S. Bilski. Okay, so this book is a very standard book in our university. For the past 5-10 years, all the teachers are using only this book. Along with that, this book, okay, there is an accompanying, a complementary video course. Okay, I told you already. What is that? Can you recall that? It is MIT Open Courseware. Okay, and this professor Alan B. Openham, he in fact has handled this class, video class. Okay, Openham. There are 2 courses in the MIT Open Courseware. You go through this Openham course, Signals and Systems. This course is in fact recorded during 1985, but it is a digitally reformatted video recorded, okay, reformatted, and it is an excellent course. You get lot of insights. This professor has written this book. Okay, Signals. Which book? Can you see it clearly, every one of you? This book, can you see it? Signal Systems, Alan B. Openham, Alan Bilski. Every one of you can see it clearly. Okay. So that is book number 1. Okay. The other books, in fact, I'll be using some MATLAB codes also in this course. Okay. So there are some good books for MATLAB also. Signals and Systems. Go to Amazon. It will be easier. Yeah. Signals and Systems using MATLAB. Okay. You can use this course also. Every one of you can see it. Louis Chapro. Okay, Signals and Systems using MATLAB. Louis Chapro. So that is book number 2. Any queries? Anybody having difficulty in seeing this? Okay, then there are some other good books. Maybe you can refer to also. Maybe these 2 books are sufficient. But the third one, in fact, which I would like to recommend now, there is a book titled Signals and Systems. Okay, Alkin. Okay, this in fact recently I have come across is an excellent book. Try to get this book. Okay, Signals and Systems, a MATLAB integrated approach. Indian edition is there, I think. You can check with this. Okay, a MATLAB integrated approach is also a very nice book. Okay, so you can refer to this also. Then apart from these 3 books. If somebody wants solved problems, okay, some Indian author-based books, you can refer to Ramesh Babu. Okay. Ramesh Babu. I think you can buy this book. It's a good book. Okay, I think 200 bucks. I think cheaper edition is 200 bucks. No, 528. Okay. So Ramesh Babu is also good. Okay, you can get this book also for examination point of view and all. Can refer to. I think the first book that I told you now, the Openham Bilski. Okay, that's a very standard and excellent book. You can refer to that. Okay, you can refer to this book. A fantastic book written by Openham, and you can use the video materials also. You can follow my class lectures also. 5 hours of weekly effort apart from class hours is required. Okay, for learning this subject. So I expect you all to put that 5 hours of additional time to master this subject thoroughly, to become a very competent engineer in the coming years. Okay, all the very best. So anybody would like to have, I would be willing to take few more questions. Anything? All right, I'll stop here. Okay, we'll meet tomorrow.